What have you been up to the past couple of weeks?
Well, I'm working with Caleb Plant. Did some work boxing last weekend in Arizona and working with Caleb Plant. And taking off Thursday to California to work with Shane Mosley Jr. And the week after, I'll be in LA for the Creed 3 premiere and so on and so on. So how you been?
I've been good. I've been good. Just keep doing these interviews. I've done about 10 or so last week. So yeah,
Good
I
for
just keep,
you.
keep doing
Yeah,
them. Yeah, I've been
yeah, I
doing
tell
good.
you could be a superstar.
Thank you. Thank you. So first question I want to ask you is how was it filming Creed 3?
It was unbelievable. I've done all three of them, and as Michael's cut man, Michael B. Jordan's cut man, and this one was extremely special because I have a good relationship with Michael, and he not only acted in it but he directed in it, and he did a tremendous job. Got some of the comeback fighters. Tony Bellew will be back, and Drago will be back, and make little cameos, and we got Canelo in there, and it's the storylines are real good, Hayden. So I think you'll enjoy it.
Yeah, because I saw in the trailer, because I was watching the trailer just trying to find wee bits in that, and I saw that there was Conan versus Creed 2 poster. So do they fight in the film?
That you got to see.
Okay, okay.
I
Okay.
can only give you so much.
Yeah,
So
so how different was it filming this time without Sylvester Stallone?
yeah, well, it was good. It's always good to have a relationship with Sylvester Stallone, but I mean, I'm sure he was missed, but yeah, I was just privileged to be there. Work with so many great actors and so many people from the boxing world and all that. So for me, I don't take nothing that's none of my business. So that type of thing. But I guess he'll be in the fourth one, and they're already working on the fourth one, from what I understand.
So there's a fourth one coming out.
That's what they say. Yeah,
Are
yeah.
you going to be in it?
I hope so. Yeah. Well, yeah, I think so. I think Michael B. Jordan told me. I think we talked about the last time, Creed 2, when I was wrapping his hands on how proud I was of him. I told him, and Ryan Coogler, the wrote and directed Creed, and Tessa Thompson, and then Steve Caple, the director. And he looks at me and says, Stitch, I'm directing. He said, we went from actors to writers, producers, directors. And he says, I'm directing Creed 3, and you're with me as long as you want. So and then the producers interviewed him for a documentary they're doing on my life, and his comment was, he's one of the pillars, and as long as I'm doing it, he's good to go. So yeah, I think I'm part of the Creed franchise, but that's what I told Michael B. Jordan also. I said, Michael, what what Stitch is to Adonis, Mickey was to Rocky. So this is a new generation of fighter, and I'm his cut man.
Okay, so that leads me on to my next question. How much would you say you're in it compared to the previous two?
I think I'll get a little bit more exposure. There's more scenes that I'm involved with, but you never know, until they cut and paste and put together. I haven't seen the film yet, its entirety, and whenever we did filming for certain spots, certain scenes, some guys would go to the camera and they'd see it and all that. I didn't want to, so I don't know, but I know one thing I had to sign off on is for the props is my Stitch Premium Athletic tape, and I use that wrapping Michael's hands, and they let me use it. So that I can tell you is we'll get some good exposure, and so yeah, I'm kind of glad that he gave me that opportunity, and that's available at Cutman for Hire Supplies.
Okay, so out of the previous three films, and am I correct in saying you also did Rocky Balboa?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
so
did that one. I'm sorry.
out of those four films, what would you say the best one filming was?
Well, this one here, yeah, no doubt. It's entirely. It took an entirely different attitude. Balboa was great because that was my first movie with Rocky, right? And who is an honor. But the thing with Sylvester Stallone, he's not only did he act in it, but he wrote and directed it. And Michael B. Jordan did the same thing. So I got to see Sylvester Stallone at his brightest as a director, A level, as an actor, 100% A level. So to have been involved with him was tremendous. And I always tell people, how many guys do you know have done 3 movies with Sylvester Stallone as Rocky? I have. And how many people have done 3 movies with Michael B. Jordan? I have. So it's to me, it's an honor. It's a blessing because trust me, I'm the farthest thing from being an actor, and just to be called to do what I do and is very very. I'm happy to do that.
Okay, so you said a couple of minutes ago there that you have a documentary being filmed about your life. What's that about?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that. When I was with the UFC, I've been gone 8 years, right? So about 8, 9 years ago, a lot of the fighters, Randy Couture, Chuck Liddell, Matt Hughes, BJ Penn, they were all having books written on them. And Matt Hughes's author called me and invited my wife and I to dinner and asked about writing a book. And I'm the kind of guy like you want to do an interview, let's do it. So I never heard back from him. Well, this one guy, Zach Robinson, that lives in Germany, but he's from Oklahoma here in the United States, contacted me and says, hey, I write books and I'm a big fan and I'd be interested in writing a book on your life. And I said, yeah, let's do it. But it just happened to be by the grace of God, Hayden, that I was working with Vitaly Klitschko in Germany, and Zach lived 45 minutes away from where I was at. So we met, shook hands, wrote the book, and became a top seller. And so it's called From the Fields to the Garden. I grew up as a farm worker, picking tomatoes and peaches and cotton. And I mean, if you ate it, I probably picked it for you. And then the garden is Madison Square Garden. So been there many times, right? And so that was a book, and that's available at Amazon.com right now. So anyway, before the COVID kicked in, they contacted me regarding doing a film on my life, a 90-minute documentary. And once again, I said, sure, let's do it. So we, as life works for me, by the grace of God, a week after I signed with them, I get a call that Triple G is fighting, of all places, the Garden, which is Madison Square Garden. And that's the finale to the documentary, right? I made it to the Garden. So anyway, the Zone, Triple G, the Garden, they gave the camera guys all access. So we got all the great footage. And that was how we started filming for the documentary. Then the COVID kicked in and we lost that time frame. And then when we started again, the first guy we interviewed was Tyson Fury. So we got Tyson in there. We got Michael B. Jordan in there. We got Shane Mosley Jr., who I'm working with this weekend. We got Sean Porter, Cain Velasquez from the UFC, Javier Mendez, top trainer. And then, we went back home to my hometown and where I grew up as a farm worker and interviewed my friends and my family and all that. So it's going to be a good documentary. You guys are doing a great job.
Do you know when it'll be available?
They're doing the editing now. So, and we got Michael B. Jordan also, like I said, he came forward and gave us 30 minutes. But they're doing the editing now, so they want to put it into some film festivals, hopefully in the springtime, and then shortly after that it'll be available. And they're going after the Netflix and the Showtimes and these the high outlets, and I think it's going to make it. It's a great storyline. I've had a blessed life, doing coming from nothing and then being at this level and talking to guys. My wife says, who's this interview with? The guy from here? I said, no, it's another guy from England. He goes, oh, they love you in England, So, those are the kind of special moments that, Jake Paul, I'll let you know, they called me. I was supposed to be in Saudi Arabia going next week, Monday, and to work with Badu Jack and Kasten Muchin, that's Asim Rockman's brother. And that fight was going to be the day before Jake Paul's fight on the 25th. So I would have worked that fight, come home Sunday, and then go to the premiere in LA Monday. But it turns out that they put Badu Jack and Mason on the same card as Tyson Fury. I mean, not Tyson Fury, as Jake Paul and Fury. And so I couldn't go, so I had to cancel it out. But they called me to work with Jake Paul, and I couldn't do it. So it's the best of both worlds, when you turn down Saudi Arabia, and the prince wanted to meet me, and Amir Abdullah, that's now the president of that whole association, is the guy that got me out there. But I'll be back, and so what would you do? Would you go to Saudi Arabia to work a fight with Jake Paul, Badu Jack, or would you go to the premiere for Creed 3 if you were in it?
I'd go the Premier Creed 3, to be honest
Yeah.
with you.
But sometimes it's not about the money, Aiden. I think we talked about this before. You got to have a passion, but just the accomplishment to say, I did it, so.
Yeah, so it's interesting you say that about Jake Paul and Tommy Fury because that fight's happening in 2 weeks or a week on Sunday, I think. Yeah, so who do you think will win that one?
Oh, I think Jake Paul, people in the boxing industry, they kind of talk bad about him. He's done a great job, but the thing about it is he could fight, and when I first, because I worked with KSI when he fought Logan Paul, I met both brothers there. I worked with Anson Gibb when he fought Jake, and then I've been at two other events, so we know each other. And but the thing that really impressed me about him and his brother, why I knew they were going to be good boxers, is they were good wrestlers, and wrestlers will make good fighters.
Yeah, because Logan Paul's in the WWE now and he's doing quite well, isn't he?
Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying. They're athletic. Number one, they're athletic and they adapt this quick. But yeah, look at Logan Paul, a crazy guy.
Yeah, so I have a question that I want to ask you because you've been in both worlds, being a cut man, boxing and MMA. What sport would you say is more dangerous?
That's a good question. I think well, well, it used to be this way. I used to say that boxing would give you more long-term damage, the dementia pugilistica, the CTE that everybody's doing. MMA gives you more of the short-term injuries, the cuts, the broken bones that are healable, the torn muscles that are repairable. That was then. But and that's a good question. I'm glad you brought it up, Hayden, because as I look now, and I mentioned it before, the big thing right now is CTE. Everybody's looking at the dementia, the punch drunk syndrome, and how do we minimize it, right? And but there's been a lot of studies, but it's been now. When I first started with the UFC, everybody spoke normal, right? And it's been 8 years since I've been gone, and I've run into some fighters that I worked with before in the past, and you can see the pattern of their speech already changing and changed. So yeah, and now as you look at it, now you're looking at at how do you evaluate what boxing, the long-term injury, of course, the knockouts are going to create that, which is brain damage. But now MMA, you're looking at the short-term injuries opposed now to the long-term injuries. So that's a good question, and nobody's ever brought it up, but that's my evaluation.
Okay, that's a good evaluation. That. So I also wanted to ask you, how do you calm a fighter down before he has a big fight? How do you calm him down?
That's a good question. That's we were talking about it yesterday, and these guys like Tyson Fury, Vladimir Klitschko, all these guys, even though they're bad modern day gladiators, are all babies deep inside. And one of my things, and that's what I was talking to a guy yesterday, he says, you bring that calming effect to these guys. So I talked to him, I let him know I'm sincere, let him know that I'm there to take care of him. And I'm going to let you listen to this video that Vladimir Klitschko sent me. All right. Okay. And it shows the relationship that I have with these type of fighters. So what happened is during the Creed movie, Michael B. Jordan, I came in kind of like as an advisor. I wanted to make sure everything was done proper. He asked me who should give away the WBC belt. So I gave him the story that was created by Jose Suleiman from Mexico City. He passed away. His son Mauricio is now the president. So it should be given away by a Mexican representative. So they found one in the audience as the extras, and he's the one that gave the belt away. But I told Mauricio when Earl Spence fought Ugas, I told him the story, and he said, well, let's take a picture and let's send it to the Klitschko brothers, because they were both WBC champions. And as we know, they're right in the middle of the battle with Russia. Vitaly is the mayor of Kiev, and then Vladimir is kind of like the face of the country where, he's talking to all these other countries. So anyway, Vladimir sent me this message, bro. And you talking about how important somebody in my position feels, but I'll let you listen to this. Hold on, let me see here. Hold on.
My two favorite men, especially Stitch, with whom I spent so much time talking, and he actually saved my career on a lot of different stages. If Stitch wouldn't be in my corner, I would not make the record of 12 years being a champion. So that's so great to see you both, and Stitch is the man.
That's really cool to have that said. That's really cool.
Yeah, so let me go rewind and tell you some of the relationships I had with him, right? And very, very special. Him and his brother Vitaly. But the first fight that I worked with him, he had just lost his world title to Lehman Brewster. And Emmanuel Stewart asked me to work with him. And the first fight, he ends up with a big old cut right here. And I know he's winning the fight. It was an unintentional headbutt. He won the first 3 rounds. Not the best talent I'd seen. He got dropped in the 4th round, but he got an unintentional headbutt in the 5th. So I had the doctor stop the fight. She came and says, "What do you think?" And in the UFC, I worked on these cuts many times, but it's that big vein that comes down here when you laugh. He severed that one, and it's going to bleed. You're not going to stop it. So when the doctor comes, she says, "What do you think?" I opened it up, and she stopped and went to the scorecards. He won, and then shortly after that became world champion again. And that's why he's talking about 8 years. I saved his career. But when he fought Anthony Joshua, Wembley Stadium, I think I mentioned this before, and it's one of my most memorable moments. The last fight I had with him, I don't see him till Friday at the weigh-ins, and I got in Thursday night, and so finally we're talking to him and Vitaly, and finally I put my hand on Vladimir's shoulder. I said, "Look, don't worry about nothing tomorrow. I'm gonna take care of you like you're my son." And I leave because I know they can't sleep. Right before Michael Buffer does the announcements in front of 90,000 screaming Brits and people watching all over the world, I'm this far away from Vladimir putting the final Vaseline, and he says, "You could call me son." That's kind of got into my heart, right? And then he called me after the fights. One of the best fights you ever had. The fans in Wembley were Rocky Vladimir, Klitscho, and Joshua. So it was an epic fight. So he called me later, "Hey, Daddy." But then months later, I see him in Germany, Hayden, and I asked him that one simple question. I said, that moment, why? He said, "Stitch, there's very few people I trust in my life. You are one of them." So that was the final words we said to each other. And, now I wish him, his brother, the whole country, I wish him all the best. And I hope, everything comes out good.
And so what upcoming boxing shows are you on as a cut man?
What other movies? You're saying?
No. Nah, so
cool.
what upcoming fights are you cut man for?
God, I got shows all the way till April the 15th right now, and I'm working with Top Rank, and they give me a lot of shows. What happened is during the COVID, I live here in Las Vegas, right, 20 minutes away from the MGM. So Top Rank, which is now the top boxing, always been the top boxing promoter. They were big with Don King, and they had 18 shows in the bubble at the MGM. So they called me and asked if I'd be one of the house cut men. So I would check in on Wednesday nights, be literally locked in your room until fight time, and did 2 fights, go home on Sunday, and then come back Wednesday. So did that for 6 weeks. But when the COVID finished, they liked that program so much that they kept me and Mike Basil as house cutmen. So I get a bunch of shows, and they're all on ESPN. Plus I work with, different guys. Caleb Plant, working with him when he fights Benavidez. And then the thing with Benavidez is his brother Jose is in the movie, and I'm his cutman in the movie, So, so there's plenty of work. Shakir Stevenson, I think, is fighting. I'm working with, all kinds of guys. So, yeah, work is, it's not missing.
Okay, so do you have anything you want to promote?
Outside of, and I always tell people is, for a good cornerman, one thing is education, bro. I try, there's so many guys that do so many things bad in the corner as a cut man, trying to take care of their fighter, that it's not fair to the fighters. And so I always try to teach. And all that. But, even getting the best supplies, and I mentioned Cutman for hire, the number 4. So it's Cutman, the number 4, and then hire supplies. He has the best stuff for us to use as trainers, as Cutmen. So, help these guys out. And then there's a video I put out there also that shows the basic foundation of how to wrap hands, how to work cuts, because we got to educate these guys. So yeah, that was it, but I've been blessed, and good having a chat with you again. And sorry I couldn't understand that one
That's
question, but I'll get better at it.
No worries, pal. So thanks so much for taking this interview. Have a good time at the premiere for Creed, and yeah, we'll do it again sometime, all right?
All right, Aiden, all the best.
Thank you. All the best. All the best.
All right, goodbye.